Whereas community action has put a human face on poverty for 56 years by advocating for limited income citizens without a voice, so that they may enter the middle class and reach for the American dream, replacing their despair with opportunity. And whereas community action builds and promotes economic stability as the essential aspects of enabling and enhancing stronger communities, which in turn promotes self-sufficiency, ensuring that all Americans are able to live in dignity. Whereas Tri-Valley Opportunity Council has been headquartered in Crookston since 1965 and enhanced the lives of thousands of people throughout Minnesota by providing essential life-changing services and opportunities, such as affordable housing, economic development, early childhood service, energy assistance, and service for seniors. And whereas Tri-Valley Opportunity Council has served over 2,000 families, over 9,000 individuals, including over 3,500 children and seniors in 2021, by utilizing over 650 volunteers. And whereas Tri-Valley Opportunity Council will continue to implement innovative and cost-effective programs to improve the lives and living conditions of the impoverished, continuing to provide support and opportunities for all citizens in need of assistance. Now therefore, I, Dale Stainbrook, Mayor of City of Crookston, Minnesota, do be hereby proclaim May 2022 as Community Action Month, in recognition of the hard work and dedication of Tri-Valley Opportunity Council and all Minnesota community action agencies. In testimony whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the official seal of the City of Crookston, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as Community Action Month. Jason. Whoops. Good to see you. Yeah. Long time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again. Okay, that brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove anything from tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Christie. Discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Klatt,
Aye.
Bed Broughton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel.
Aye.
Okay, this brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to take up 6.04.
Okay. Anything else?
7.04?
7.
Or 6.0.
What are we talking about this?
So under the consent agenda, was it 7.04? Or under the regular agenda or the consent agenda?
Oh, well, the one I got says 6.04. You must have revised.
9:04?
7.05.
7:05? So under the consent to approval of the Crookston Housing and Economic Development Authority CHEDA amended agenda for May 31st, 2022? Okay. We'll move that to the regular agenda item.
Okay, is there any others?
That's what I printed out.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Yeah.
I'll second it,
Thank you,
Your Honor.
Tom, second by
Clayton?
Clayton, thank you. Have roll call, please.
Klatt,
Aye.
Ved Bratton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel.
Aye.
Okay, no public hearings. This brings us to the regular agenda. Ashley.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 9.01 is a resolution approving the contract with the Law Enforcement Labor Services, LELS, Local Number 31 for 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. Thank you. Discussion. Corky, a little brief on this?
Yes, we have now concluded just this week the negotiations with the police union here in Crookston. There were 3 issues that had to be finalized. I worked with their attorney and counsel and also their representative of the union, and everything was agreed to, and what you see in front of you is a compilation of work that probably started 6 months ago. We revised the language, nothing substantively, throughout the whole agreement. There were quite a few changes that needed to be made. They were all agreed to by the police union, and I would recommend that we pass this. There is a 1-year agreement. So we understand the minute this, if it's passed, and notify the police union, they will now send out a notification to commence bargaining for 2023. I think there's only a couple of things in there that you may be interested in. One is that there is no residency requirement now, but they still have a statutory obligation to be able to respond within a reasonable time. And then there's language, they are getting a slight increase, and I'm sure we'll hear about that more in subsequent negotiations. So those are the 2 major items, I think, that you'd be interested in.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Klatt,
Aye.
Ved Bratton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 9.02 is a resolution accepting the bid and awarding the contract for the 2022 street improvements.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Delane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Thank you. Discussion?
Just curious on, we got the 3 bidders that they have, is there normally more than that, or different vendors? It just seemed like there was more bidders in this process, but not any for longer? Or,
Yes, Councilman. For the project this year, it was, mainly street reconstruction. There wasn't really a lot of underground as far as water, sewer, storm sewer work. And when it's limited to just reconstructing and mill and overlay work, you're typically going to have these 3 bidders bidding. Where we usually typically would get more bidders if there's some underground water, water installation, sewer installation, then we'd get more bidders
okay,
typically, so.
thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Klatt,
Aye.
Ved Bratton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye,
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 9.03 is a resolution approving the detachment of a certain portion of land, parcel number 82.00077.03, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move, Your Honor.
Got Don and
I'll second it.
Clayton. Thank you. Discussion. Corky, a little brief, please.
Sure. This is an action by a limited liability corporation, the Biermeyer Family Corporation. They've asked to detach 27.5 acres immediately adjacent to the city. This is kind of a unique process. You can ask an administrative law judge to detach parcels of land from a municipality. That's what they've done. There are certain criteria. One, how many people are in there? There are no people in this acreage. Two, are there any buildings or structures which could be affected? There are none here. The basic reason for them asking is that certain ordinances apply to them in the city. They can't discharge firearms, they can't use certain all-terrain vehicles. They also want to hunt and that kind of thing. So you have three options. The petition has already been initiated with the administrative law judge. One, you can agree and approve and say, yes, we agree. That makes the process pretty quick for them because there's no opposition. You can do nothing and just stand neutral, and then there would be more activity by the Biermeyers in front of the administrative law judge, or you can oppose. If you oppose, that results in a hearing, essentially a mini trial in front of the administrative law judge, where the burden would be upon the city to convince the administrative law judge that this should not be allowed. Because of the petition that has been filed, I checked the statute. All of the requirements of the statute have been complied with by the Biermeyers. And so the petition or the resolution is in front of you for your discussion, if you have any, or to agree with the petition or oppose it. Is that a fair summary, Luke? Okay. And we've worked with Luke on this. We did not help with the petition, but we made sure that it complied with the statute. I don't find any procedural deficiencies, so it's up to you in terms of substance.
Is there any other properties around that are similar to this situation?
You know, I didn't check fully all the map, but I don't think so. You have the map there with you.
Right.
Another factor that may be important for your discussion is it borders a river. Now, if there were property that were immediately adjacent to a street, that might be something different. But there is that separation by the river, so there is added safety for citizens. We provide no fire service. We may have a police service obligation there. And there is a cost to us to, if this is approved, to amend the map because it will be taken out of the city. I believe that's $150 approximately.
When they talk about hunting there, is there any way to limit that to, like, say, bow hunting rather than rifle or shotgun?
If it's out of the city,
Then there is.
none that I'm aware of, it's subject to the state regulations on hunting and fishing. Luke?
Yes.
Please.
And if you'd say your name and your address, that would really be good.
All right, Lucas Biermeyer, 520 Spruce Lane, Crookston. Just kind of a caveat on just the hunting there and discharging firearms. Technically with Minnesota DNR, and there might be other rules too, but you can't discharge a firearm within 500 feet of a building, which is technically, it's about 400 feet to the river from our best radius that we were able to draw on a map. So you got 100 yards within that property still that we're not shooting firearms within that zone anyway. So that's, yeah, so that's, we're pretty far into our land then at that point before we would do that, so.
You pretty much do nothing but bow hunting down there, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much bow hunting. We do rifle hunt that area, and we will walk that river. But we've walked, and we don't obviously carry any guns or anything like that. But then kind of move the deer around into our area that we do obviously have, obviously out of the city limits there to carry guns, and so. But yeah, it would be a lot more. Would be mainly bow hunting, kind of in that area. Is obviously a longer season for that.
Sure.
So.
And you don't really see putting any buildings out there ever, or?
No, never. It's and I think talking with the county too, and that's never been a discussion just with with the amount of trees and wind blown stuff there. But it's all very much within the flood zone. It floods, I'd say 90% of the years that area floods.
Okay.
So, and kind of on the north end, we have the Mount St. Benedict land there too, and there's a fairly, I guess large for Crookston, embankment that kind of blocks that area too. Mm-hmm. So that's not even, that's bordered fairly well by that too. That's obviously never been an issue with that either, so.
Thank you. Further questions?
Did you talk to Chief Salzler at all? Does he have any reservations about this or not?
I did not speak with him about it. I haven't heard any reservations from anybody, so.
Chief, you got any concerns?
I do not. I do not at this time. Corky and I could discuss it further if needed, but at this point, no.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Thank you, Lucas. Okay, hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Yeah. Do you want me
Wait,
to?
the option,
Do you want me just to say what the resolution is right now, Your Honor?
please.
Okay, so the resolution is for the detachment of the property from the city with parcel number 82.00077.03, that the city of Crookston supports the petition of the detachment as presented by the Biermeyer Family L Limited Liability Partnership, and that the mayor and city administrator for the city of Crookston are authorized to sign all documents and amendments thereunto necessary to support the petition for detachment for the Biermeyer Family a Limited Liability Partnership with the lands within the city of Crookston pursuant to the Minnesota statute 414.06, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? Does this affect taxes at all for that land?
They're $132 a year, 66 per quarter, per half.
I just know that, you know, the Biermeyer family has been hunting down there for years. So, you know, I don't think it's a big deal. Further questions?
So do we need a motion or did you already?
We already have a motion and a second. We just need to,
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
yes, Klatt,
Aye.
Vedbrotten,
Aye.
Melby,
All right,
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
All right,
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Item 9.04 is a resolution approving the repair to the, oops, excuse me, that one has been removed. Okay. Item 9.05, no, that one has not, sorry. I moved it, sorry. I have it on my notes. Item 9.04 is a resolution approving the repair to Lift Station 4's air exchange system, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Thanks, Leighton and
I'll
Don.
second. Oh, Don, did you
Don second. Thank you. Discussion. Corky or Brandon?
I think Brandon's probably better able to speak to this.
So this is the air exchange system at Lift Station 4 that I brought up, I don't know, 6-8 months ago for the consulting specs. And it's been kind of gritting, and I've been going all over looking for quotes. I talked to all the HVAC companies in Crookston and ended up having to go out to Grand Forks and Fargo, and this is the only quote that we ended up getting. We did do the legal ad in the newspaper with no response, so this is the one quote I was able to get and what I'm looking to move forward with, so.
so the question I have is, so number 4 was 61,000. What would be the story with 1, 2, and 3 then? Is that down the road or is?
Yeah, that'll be in my CIP, this budget, 4 is the lift station that has the air issues in it, so we have the air monitor. We'll treat the other stations just like we're going in a manhole where we'll check the air before we enter and make sure it's safe. They have the gas monitor on them all the time, so 4 is just the crucial one that we fight the bad air in the summertime, so.
This is more for safety of employees, correct?
Yep, this lift station has H2S issues, so when it gets warm in the summer, the H2S, the guys were having to run the blower about 15 minutes last summer before they could go in there, so this system will run on its own timer, and it'll keep the air fresh all the time.
So on the CIP side of that, are you gonna try to do all three of them next year, or the others aren't that bad where it's,
I got a few things that are gonna be in that wastewater CIP. I'm gonna have to prioritize because we can't fix everything and,
I mean,
you
with
know,
that, I know our funding there is pretty solid, so it's one of those things, if it's a safety issue, I'd rather see it earlier than later to get it done with and do them all, so they're all be done, I guess my
yeah,
comment on that, but.
yeah. And if that's the consensus of council, I can put it in for next year's CIP, so.
I'd also like to see where we land with those additional American Act funding. I know we initially had talked about, a little bit about that some of the cities didn't utilize that, and my understanding, Corky, is that that will then come back to some type of, like a bucket fund for the county, and then possibly be distributed.
Yes, the best information I have, Councilwoman, is this, that presently there are more requests for funds in greater amounts than the county has available. If the projects are not authorized, or if money is not spent, that does come back to the county for potential redistribution.
Yeah, I'd like to see this maybe put forward as part of those funds that the county is reviewing right now for the money that they initially got, but I'd also like to see it if that additional money comes from other cities. Because I think this would really fall under that infrastructure piece, if I'm not mistaken.
I can get a hold of the county and talk to their administrator, Chuck Whiting, and see what the possibilities are and what the process would be to put that request in.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Further discussion?
So is this something, if we do it prior to, it wouldn't be covered by this, or do we approve it and
This
wait?
particular item, if we do it prior, then it's not covered. If we're talking about 1, 2, and 3, we can ask for that because those are not undertaken
Okay.
at this point.
So this one here is just gonna come right out of the
Well, this one's-
enterprise fund?
This one, yeah, this one's been budgeted.
This is already budgeted, this particular.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, if
you
we
can get
start
it
it-
back,
If we start it before, then it would not be eligible. But
So
my
we know.
understanding from talking with Brandon and review of the materials, that we need this as soon as possible.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Clat,
Aye.
Ved Bratton,
Aye.
Melby,
aye?
Jurdy,
Aye.
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 Erickson,
Briggs.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on.
All right. Yes, Your Honor. Item 9.05 is a resolution to sell real property located on Hunter Street.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution? Steve
I'll second it.
and Clayton, thank you. Discussion. Corky, please.
This is a parcel of property on Hunter Street that has been in the city's vault of properties for quite a while. The immediately adjacent owner has submitted a bid and a cashier's check for the amount that's in the packet, $3,000. The estimated market value by the county is $3,300. I've spoken with our Park and Rec director, and he indicates that it would be a financial benefit for us if we didn't have to mow this particular piece of property day after day, month after month, year after year. We do not need the property for access to the dike system. We have no intended use for the property. It's been in this state for a number of years. One of the reasons the present owner wants to buy it is the house which he purchased is on the property. It extends over his property line. He did not make any additions to create this particular situation, and he would like to buy the property.
My question is, how do we own something that's got a half a house on it and appears a shed?
How do we own that?
Yeah.
Well, because it's a tax forfeited property, or the city's always owned it. I can't tell you, Councilman, how long that house has been over the line, but it's my understanding that it's been many, many, many years, and this particular landowner would just like to clean that up.
there any specials on it?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Platt,
Aye.
Ved Broughton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
All right,
Briggs, Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 9.06 is to discuss spring and fall cleanup.
Are we gonna do the other one first,
We follow agenda.
Okay, no problem. Okay, we're, discussion regarding fall and spring cleanup.
If I might, Your Honor.
Sure.
We've had some inquiries, complaints, if you will, and some inquiries about the fall and spring cleanup criteria, the rules. As you're all aware, this was a real unique year. And there is inquiry about what involves excessive debris on the corners and on the lots of the particular residences. And this would be a good time, in my opinion, for y'all to discuss just how we want to define these terms and how often we want to do this and where you want us to go in terms of continuing this. If I could, Brandon is here to speak to this as well. And I know there are citizens here who want to talk about this. What a better time.
just my 2 cents on this thing is, the reason I want to get it looked at is, you know, the way we have it set up now, I feel that we need to just do it. Pick up the rest of the stuff, cut our losses and whatever this year, and develop a better plan. I guess my concern was we changed the rule kind of in midstream, and I don't think that was fair to the people that put it out. You know, I know cost is a factor, but at the end of the day, it sat out there for 2 weeks because of issues that we had, the whole community had. But at the end of the day, I mean, the rain and everything else costs us a fortune too. I bet you that added 20% onto our bill. Because couches get heavier as when they sit out in the rain, but I just, you know, I'd like us to see us do whatever is out there now and then look for a plan for fall and next spring. I guess I think we need to, as a council or citizens, put it out there, not knowing of what, our rules are gonna change midstream. And I think we need to honor that and get it done for this year.
Did we, what changed midstream that,
Well, just that, you know, like I said, the opinion of the people of what's too much. You know, I've, over the past years, we've had whole blocks with, and I get that. This year is probably, you know, according to Brown, I think it was quite a bit more, but at the end of the day, everybody's opinion of that, we need to have a more designed or more plan that's everybody can get on board with and know exactly what they can and can't.
so is there's nothing, there's no policies in place that says currently, that says what we do and what we don't do, or is it just, is it a gray area, or is it?
Well, and I've been, you know, mulling around. So there is, there's two defining that are left to interpretation, unfortunately. So, you know, we only take garbage from residential properties, right? So, in my mind, the intent of cleanup is to clean up residential debris, right? So, we only left it 5 or 6 properties. You know, I could argue that you could argue both ways. You know, I believe most of the properties that were left were rentals, which have a business side of, you know, a typical homeowner is not gonna remove everything from their house and fill up the berm from the curb line to the front of the house, right? So it's, you know, and then demo is defined as no excessive demo. So we get, you know, there's a crew that gets the bagged brush and leaves. There's a crew that goes around and gets the household garbage, so pretty much anything that's bagged. And then the trucks and the loader go around and grab the demo. So household, and I've been checking a lot of surrounding communities of Fargo, Moorhead, Grand Forks. We're the only city that takes demo.
So is it written anywhere prior to this spring that we don't take demo?
No,
Okay,
but we don't take excessive demo.
so I mean, I'm sitting here thinking that we can't, like what Steve said, we can't change it in midstream. I mean, if we want to make a policy going forward for the fall and the coming springs, then this is our time now to do that. But I don't think it's fair to the residents that we're changing it in the middle of spring cleanup that we're doing, just because they have excess and there's no rules before.
I think
My
too-
idea of change was, the change of the rule was, we're only, when you sent out the email saying we're only doing 4 buckets, well,
Right.
Was that the
Just gonna say
proposed, or
that.
was that the actual?
that was, well, they
Implemented.
did more than that, I think, but, today that's a change, which, they don't put out there, say, oh geez, that 4 big payloader buckets or not, I guess, that's the thing where we really can't use that as a, because a couple people got, that had stuff left in there. Well, I said, well, they changed it to 4 buckets. Well, we can't change that midstream in my eyes, but even if we did, what's 4 buckets? If you throw a coach in there and a love seat, there's probably 2 buckets. So now they got 2 left. I mean, some of that stuff's big and clumsy and, like I said, I think we gotta put some thought into this for next fall or this fall and next spring, and get a plan so everybody can be on the same
I mean,
page.
I would agree that we don't want to pick up a bunch of demo, but it's got to be, we can't just decide now that right in the middle of it. I mean, am I wrong, or what does anybody else think?
Brandon, can I ask, was the 4 buckets a proposed suggestion, or was that what was enforced this year?
That's what we did this year, yeah.
So it was enforced.
Yeah.
And that we're the only city in our area that actually even accepts demo at all?
Yeah, so as far as demo goes, that would be like sheetrock, any like old kitchen cabinets.
Sure.
Is that
Do you think that you had a significant amount more due to I just thinking of like some of the people who were like flooded out in their basements and stuff?
Yeah,
It seems like that'd be a pretty significant amount as well.
Yeah, Dave said there was a lot of carpet, so when you get a wet spring like we got, people had more water in their basements. And, at the end of the day, starting cleanup and then being shut down by the wet weather, we essentially left a 2-week window to put
And it
cleanup.
also adds more time for people to
Yeah.
to
add
clean
their-
and do some more stuff. Most fall or springs, you're kind of fighting the snow, and when you're doing it, people may not have time enough to really get after it. Well, now they had 2 more weeks. I think another thing needs to be looked at is people going through the garbage on your berm. I've had people drop stuff on my berm that's not even mine, or I try to make it nice for you guys to pick up, and all of a sudden it's just a jumble mess. I think it makes it harder for you guys. So I think that's another thing we may need to look at. People scrounging to a certain point. I don't know if there's anything we can do about that, but I think that's something to look at as far as making it easier and quicker for you, because you have a certain way you want it. It says it, separate your piles, but the years that I've had piles, all of a sudden they're all one again, because people are just like this, going through, they're opening garbage bags, they're doing all sorts of stuff, and it makes just an absolute mess.
And me and Darren talked about that a little bit, it's, once it gets out on the berm, it's kind of in, the gray
Free-for-all.
area to where the homeowner doesn't own it anymore.
I guess I'm not
Yeah.
opposed if we decide not to pick up demo. We just got to have that in place before it happens.
And I am not proposing that we don't pick up demo. I'm just, I think, there's 2,400 single-family homes in Crookston. So, let's just say that, I'll be conservative and say that there's only half of them that will put out cleanup debris. So the crews have 2 minutes at each house to grab their stuff and move on to the next house. This is a service for the entire community. And it's yes, you could do cleanup for 2 weeks. But at the end of the day, our crew can only do so much in 1 year.
And I agree, but that's why I think we need to define it.
Yeah, but it's also it's like our snow policy too, Delane. You know, a 2-inch snow with a 30-mile-an-hour wind. You know, it's not as simple. You know, we can't tell them that they can only put garbage in a 10-by-4 square either, because then, like Joe said, they'll pile it up 6 feet tall. I've tried to look at other cities' policies to feel out how to best define it, and honestly, they all define it as residential, and no excessive debris will be collected. So, you know, other cities will, I don't know if they take it right away, but they charge. Once they hit the excessive line, they will take it and charge for the
But what's to
debris.
say your definition of excessive is different than my definition of excessive?
Yeah,
I mean, so we can, that's the thing, and I'm trying, if we can figure out a way to define it, because when you leave that gray area in there, then it's like, well, it's
well,
not
and like
excessive to me.
the household garbage, I think, is easy. You know, you can figure out. We'll just say, you know, every garbage bag has a gallon rating, so we'll take. I'm just throwing a number out there, so don't hold me to it, but we'll say 300 gallons of household garbage, and then, you know, it's. You know, Chad, can you put up the first picture? Just so you guys get a representation of what we did take, what we didn't take. So this, just take the mattresses and tires out of this pile. This is what we would take for household garbage. You can go to the next one, Chad. This was the 4 buckets of demo. Doesn't look like they have a lot of garbage bags there. So that was what I sent out about a week ago for what I considered, you know, living on the edge, I'll call it. So, and so.
Again, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but we don't have anything defining of what, so I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate. What if you don't like the guy, it's excessive, you know, and now we're not picking it up and we're just,
Well,
that's what.
yeah, and that's, you know, that's why I like the internal policy of the 4 buckets for demo. How is that defined easily to the community? I don't know if it's pictures. You know, I don't know. I've been mumbling about the definition and how to define it so that it's crystal clear. And, you know, on the demo side, it's not as easy as the garbage.
So where would you
I mean,
put the
why don't we-
pictures if you're gonna have pictures, where would you put them so people would see them?
You know, we could when we do our advertisement, pre-cleanup, we could maybe, we could do a Facebook post and put it on our website, would probably be the best place for
But I mean, you
pictures.
said some communities don't take demo at all, right?
Correct, yeah.
I mean, I'd be fine with that if we just say that, no, just starting this fall, no more demo.
Like, whatever we have left out there right now, I mean, you're gonna pick up. Is that what we're saying, basically? That's out there right now?
If that's what I'm directed to do,
I
that's
mean,
what
I
I'll
think we
do.
need to address that first, that what's out there now, I think.
Yeah, that is the first
So
issue
we need to get
that's
that-
before you all, is to say,
Right.
what do we do with what's out there now?
Well, I'm agreeing with Steve, I think whatever's out there now, we gotta go pick it up.
And you all understand,
Yeah.
that will be extra time,
Right.
And
and
extra
I'm not
money.
saying don't do it,
Yeah.
and there are tipping fees that we have to pay at the transfer station.
Well, like, the tipping fees already, I mean, I look at that stuff that's set out there and rained on for 2 weeks, it's not gonna be light, it costs us money there.
And how
It's one of
many,
those things, we had no control to pick that up, they were busy, and I get that. But at the end of the day, I think we have to pick it up this year, and then work on our plan B here, what we're gonna do this fall. But I think, my opinion is that we need to clean up what's out there now.
I agree with that.
Brenda, can you tell me like how many houses were like stuff has not been picked up from at this
5 to
point?
6.
5 to 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I still see some mattresses and stuff laying around. too.
Yeah, well, that's, we were, because of the excess, you know, the extra time that was given to put out, the cleanup has been pretty heavy this year. The guys just got, did you finish Friday today, Dave? No. So we didn't even finish Friday today. And so that's, I mean, the mattresses and couches are what we grab last.
I got another question, Brandon. You had mentioned like 2 weeks a little while ago. Would that be something that instead of such a short period of time, like you're saying, 2 minutes to pick up this and move on because it's a week? Would 2 weeks say north end from here to here is this week, south end from here to here is this week? Would that help you, do you think? I mean, as far as, you know, maybe not so much time and work on your employees and
Well, and
you, or-
I think something that might help speed it up is, you know, we do brush pickup through the summer, right? There's no reason that we have to pick up brush during cleanup. So, you know, and then, you know, no other city takes tires either. That does not, typically I try to grab the tires, Pat grab the tires. That's not very time consuming, but, you know, I honestly, for both parties involved, the city and the residents being considered, I think we should shorten the period that they can put out debris to 24 hours before their cleanup day. That's everybody else's policy. And that will keep people from digging through the piles, and it'll make it less likely that it gets rained on too.
You know, the problem with that though is, like, my pickup day is Friday, so you got, you know, Thursday to do it. The guys that get it on Monday, they've got the weekend to get their stuff together. You know, it's kind of a kerfuffle there too, but what are we actually trying to accomplish by having a cleanup? We're trying to get rid of all this crap rather than having it in your backyard or in the, you know, so the neighbor has to look at it. We're trying to get rid of that. This, as you said, has been an excessive. I mean, I think people started putting it out 2 weeks early. Then we moved the date, didn't you, from in April to May, and then from the first part of May to the end of May, down here. So, I mean, it has really, this year has really been a struggle, and it's been different. And I understand that, but in business, that happens sometimes, you know, and you, okay, I understand you can't take everything, but there again, you can't switch horses in the middle of the stream. What we got out there, we got out there, and if we can sit down and talk about it later about what is excessive, if you can come up with some. I mean, you don't take TVs, and I drove through the city, and I've seen one TV out on the curb. Right? Well, that's all I've seen. It's probably buried underneath some of that. You know, it's hard, but I only seen one. But, you know, well, it's garbage then, isn't it? So, I mean, you know, should we sit down and think about it and get back to this again where, like I say, I would like to see this where we get everything that's out there gone. And it's pretty close. Right now, it's pretty close.
Yep.
To gone. And, you know, and if we have to bite the bullet for an extra day or some tipping fees, I for later on, I'm in agreement with get it cleaned up. There's more stuff in the backyards that could have went too.
And you know, another thing for consideration, I don't know if Polk County will do it or not, but, you know, the larger communities run their own transfer stations, so they accept debris for the week prior and the week after cleanup week. So, you know, that was something that if we could arrange with them, maybe if we, you know, said the week before cleanup and, you know, if there is excessive debris, they have the option to bring it in on their own and the city pays the tipping fees at the transfer station. So that's a couple. Me and Corky are gonna mull through it and try and come up with a good policy and present it to you guys.
I do think that if we don't want that to happen in that last picture that was up there, we have to have some clear definition as to not do that. I mean,
Yep.
so whether it's 4 buckets or so many cubic feet or however we do it, we just gotta figure that out.
Like,
When-
I think Brandon, after this spring cleanup before fall, just bring up what policy you would like to see put in place, and then as a council, we can discuss it and maybe tweak it, you can tweak it, and move forward with it.
Well, in talking with these other cities too, I mean, how do they measure access?
Excess.
Sorry.
It's all just,
Is it just relative?
It's as defined as our plan is right
Okay.
now, so, it's, like you said, you throw one couch in the bucket, you gotta leave a little bit of room there for wiggle room, but,
Right.
maybe there's too much wiggle room right now.
I think
don't
that's
know.
part of the problem.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a great time for you to say, you know what, figure it out, bring it to us, but at the end of the day, if you don't want tire, put it on there. If you don't want tire, we're not taking it.
Yeah, this is,
We
what
could
you
do a whole
want. I mean,
policy, I mean,
I'm inclined to agree with what you guys, and your staff feel you can handle, but like I say, the reason why I'm not now is because there was no really rules.
Well, the few that are in there, it's like, paint, aerosol cans, oil, some other minor things, and you don't see that out on the boulevards.
to throw that in a bag.
I agree with Mayor Steinbrück that we should probably have you bring us your recommendations, and we can review them and figure this out in the
Well,
future.
tires, I know you could take 8 to the county,
yeah, per year,
resident, per
Yeah.
year.
yeah.
I mean,
the-
you guys are the ones that do it and have to pick it up. I mean, you guys write it and bring it down what you think. And if we get it narrowed down to
Yeah.
what everybody can understand. I mean, that's the whole thing. The public's gotta be able to understand it clear and decisive, that this is what they can do. And then then we can leave whatever we leave because we have a set rule for it.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah, and, I mean, at the end of the day, having a cleanup week every 6 months isn't to throw the garbage behind your garage for 6 months and
Well,
drag it
right.
out to the berm, right? And to an extent, we're kind of encouraging that at the moment, so, we'll come up with a better policy, a better defined policy, and we'll go from there.
I think, you have 2 questions in front of you. One, what are you gonna do right now? And 2, if you're directing that Brandon, myself, or whoever, and also input probably for some residents, to bring a policy back to you as soon as possible for your consideration. I think those are the 2 issues.
Yes.
Well, can I
One-
make a motion to pick up what's out there and clean up for right now and get it done and
I'll
I think it's
second
a
that
con-
motion.
I think it's a consensus,
It's a
right?
consent.
consensus?
Consensus by the council.
Yep,
Not a motion.
exactly. You don't,
Agree, Joe?
We don't need a motion.
I think,
I think we-
he had his hand up here a little bit ago, I don't know if he had something to say.
Bill?
I think I had something that might be helpful. Bill Kressel, 109 South Main. One of the pictures happens to be one of my properties. I don't think it's an issue of if it's a rental, if it's not. It's still residential. They're paying the same fees, we're paying the same taxes. It's not like we're taking a warehouse and doing it. We went to the city after I asked why it wasn't taken, and it's confusion. That's all it is. There's 2 of my properties are 2 of the ones they're talking about. The one that you saw up there, the lift station stopped on Mother's Day. That was 3 properties, not just one, and they put it together, and the basements got flooded. Mine happened to be the one that they put it on. The person was moving out, yes. They didn't want to take their stuff because everything in the basement had 2 feet of water in it. We lost furnaces, we lost whatever. I mean, that's our issue. But that's why it got put out there. And then the other neighbor who was not, and I think she's contacted, she said she was going to contact. It's not a rental. All her craft stuff was totally ruined. So she put it out there and that's why it looked like that. It was bagged, it was separated, it really wasn't that much. The other property that we had has had habitual complaints. The yard, I mean, the fire department's given over the last years numerous So we finally had the tenant bring everything from in back by the garage and that all out front, what this is supposed to be for. And then they didn't like that. So you can't have it both ways. So if you want to do it for cleanup, and the last confusion is the biggest. We're calling debris. In your thing, it says large amounts of demolition debris. If you go to the county, demolition debris. That's not what was out there. Couches is bypass. Mattresses, bypass. Furniture, bypass. You're talking boards, wood, sheetrock, plaster, windows, toilets, cupboards, shingles, siding. Yeah, we don't want people tearing down garages, remodeling houses and putting it out there. I agree on that. But do you really want them throwing out the couch in the backyard because we don't take it, and then you're going to have the neighbors and the mice and everything else? If they're not going to do it, yes, they can go bring it there, but the majority of the citizens aren't. You know, and I think that's what the city originally intended it for. But, you know, we've been doing this for over 30 years, have 50-some properties, 3,000. This is only twice as this happened. They took part of it, and then they told me I had to go do the rest. So that's what I don't think, you know, it's not consistent, and I think you're going to have issues. I mean, I'd hate to be the guy that's going to have to say this is 4, that's 3, this is too much, that's. If you stick to what the items are and you're clear about that, I think that's more the issue. What you're trying to do. Are you trying to, you don't want couches showing up in the park, you know, because they don't want to pay for them? Or do you want, you know, the neighbor that has that messed up yard, we all have them around, do you want them to clean that up? That's kind of what I think we want to do here. I mean, I know it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, and it just happened to be a perfect storm this year, like you said, the people running through it. But all those properties, and the other one was a duplex, and the neighbors across the street happened to have a rental, and they moved out and they put it on there. And yes, there was 2 TVs that were put over there, and I was taking them out the day they came by because I had my dump trailer. And then they bypassed and they didn't take anything till later, and then they went back and took some stuff. So that's the real issue, is what are we trying to accomplish in the cleanup? To avoid that? To avoid people throwing stuff in their neighbor's yard, throwing it in the parks, doing whatever? Because that's what's going to happen if they don't have a means of doing that. And then you're going to have other issues. So, you know, there isn't a real easy answer, but it's also complicated if you just say no. I'm all for no demo. But demo is cheap if you could separate it. Demo is actually less than bypass if you go out to the transfer station. Bypass costs you more. It's not burnable. It's not garbage. So I think you got to be clear on what you advertise you're going to take. When you don't say any of that stuff there, you're not going to take. You're only going to not take, you know, demolition, but you're calling couches demolition, which the county calls it bypass. So you got a conflict in your communication of what you're actually taking, not taking. I'm not saying it's fun. I don't like doing it either. But I was told, and I had to go and do several loads and re-hand load it back up because of those 2 situations. And that's never happened before. So I don't know why it's, you know, I get that it happened this time, but it changed. And I just would like to be more evenly and fairly distributive of what you're going to do and not do, and who's told what can and can't. I don't think it's a rental property versus a household issue, because they're all paying. They're paying that fee. If there's 2 there, they're paying 2 garbage fees. We're paying the same taxes. You know, that's what you want to clean up, and they're the ones that, same thing, if you tell them and before they move out, that's where you're going to find the couches wherever. You know, it just happens that if they can do it now, you're going to avoid for when they move out, that the city's going to find out stuff across from the old Legion just showing up there randomly because they think that's where everyone dumps it. I mean, they see it at this time of the year, but. So I be careful what you do and how you do that, just because what are you trying to accomplish? You trying to make sure that everybody has a decent neighborhood, or do you want junk throwing up like out in the, you know, all of a sudden you're going to see it in the ditches and wherever else? I think we can avoid that, and it's been a great service. Not a cheap service, but it's been a great service to the community to not have to look at that stuff. So I guess that's kind of, a lot of it's communication. You can't call demo when it's not demo. If that's bypass and it's furniture, you're gonna have to get more specific on how you do it. Especially when you have the county taking the stuff one way and calling it one thing, and you're trying to call it something else. That's great confusion. And that needs to be cleared up in the communication. And the other thing too is, when you do put out the communication, you guys can, probably do a better job of telling people not to go through it. Not saying they're not going to, but if they're told they can't, I feel sorry for the guys. Literally, you see people ripping open the bags of garbage looking in it. Then you expect, well, now you're not really picking up big garbage, you're trying to pick up, you have to shovel it. Well, then it gets left. That's not fair either. And, do you really want the household? Are they supposed to go out and be yelling at everybody? It's gotten out of hand on that part. If they want to take a piece of furniture, it's one thing, but to rip through garbage, that just adds extra time for those guys, and there's no reason that has to be.
But they had a month this time to go through it, where before, hopefully, if you're smart, you'll put it out the day or two before.
But they still will,
No,
and I think the PR notification telling them, I don't know if it's unlawful, but don't do it. If you're gonna do it and you get caught, whatever, I don't know. I don't know if you can throw any bite behind it, but that would save hours right there. Enforcement would be a nightmare, but at least if you tell them, you're gonna have the honest people probably not doing it. Right now, everyone thinks it's just something I can find, it's a free-for-all. Hey, there might be something good in there. I don't think, that's not what it was intended for. Obviously, if someone's getting rid of it, yeah, one man's garbage is another man's treasure, but come on. Probably not in a garbage bag. It was put in that for a reason. And that's what's created a lot of the extra work. It really has. Probably went over my time. I appreciate hearing what I had to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the first consensus would be what, to go and whatever is out there, have the city pick it up? Everybody in agreement?
Yep.
Okay, and the second one would be is for Brandon to bring back some kind of updated policy on what we're doing now.
I would suggest then looking at what the county has and have it try and mirror that too, so we don't have the two different,
For language,
yeah.
yeah.
Even, if that's what the other cities are doing, it is what it is. As long as it's described, but the other thing I think you hit it on there is people digging through this. We gotta look at some way to fix that, because that's half the problem. I look on North Front there, it was nice pile, just beautiful across there. Not beautiful, but nicely placed, and it's like I come back 2 days later, and
all over the
it's
place.
throughout the whole yard, dumped
Yeah.
all over it.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the major concerns too. How you and, Mr. Seltzer could look into something like that, if there's a possibility to enforce that in
The other thing with
timeframe.
that though, Steve, is we had those days of 70 or 60 mile an hour winds for 2 days. It got dragged out so bad. Everybody, I don't know if it was just people digging through. There was stuff blowing around. There was stuff blowing over.
I don't think this time can really define the rest of,
No, it's just the time of
years,
setting it
but
out.
this year there's just so many, kind of a perfect storm in so many ways. I also do wonder, not that I am encouraging the curb shopping, but I do wonder how much we save in that. Because I will tell you, me personally, everything I put on my our berm was taken before it was actually able to be taken. So just throwing that out there for what it is. But there is a lot that I think is taken for good homes outside of that. But how do you make that distinction between that and people dragging trash out is, I guess, the
I
hard
think it's
part.
more of the garbage bag thing, like Bill
Yeah.
was saying.
Shorter
you know,
time
No,
would be
you don't
better.
dig into
Yeah,
a garbage bag.
agreed.
If it's got a garbage bag, you leave it alone. I don't care what's in it, because that's where the mess is gonna come, that's where the wind is gonna blow the garbage over to your neighbors or whatever else, and have them pick it up, and they're gonna be pissed at you because, look at your garbage, well, they didn't do it, but
Right.
that's what happens.
I think we got enough time here too, between now and fall, to get a
Absolutely.
good plan. And
You have your work cut out for you, to say the least.
Okay,
Brandon.
this consensus is to move on with what we decided. Let's continue to move on here.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 9.07 is removed item 7.05, approval of Crookston Housing and Economic Development Authority Cheetah amended agenda for May 31st, 2022, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution then?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Delane. Second by Don. Discussion.
Mayor, the reason I took it out of there was just, we made this, a law or a policy or something earlier this year. And it's kind of putting a pinch on some of the stuff that they do as far as having to have that agenda done early to coincide with the council meeting. Like, we're already approving here for the June 14th meeting. And we haven't even, just barely got through another one. I was just wondering, for my own sake, is why is that in there? Does it have to be in there? And can it be removed, or should it be removed? Or is this a good way to checks and balances? I mean, I just like a little,
I guess I hear you, and I see it both ways, because before, the old council, it was like the stuff got put in there, and the rest of us on the council that weren't on Cheetah didn't have a say with anything going on in the Cheetah, so I get that. So that's why I kind of like to see it approved here first and then moved on, but on the other hand, it's tough to get the items in there to get them, so we can have, things pop up between now and the 31st to get them in there.
Yeah, or even if something happened on the 31st that we needed to then amend the 14th agenda,
Because what happened the last meeting, there were some things
Yep.
that got, and there was a lot of other that we talked about that wasn't on the agenda.
And to be
If I
honest with you, I
might,
was not, it felt uncomfortable to do that.
I can address some of those questions. Do I think it's a good idea at this point to have this agenda approved by the council? 100% yes. Delane and I were just talking prior to this meeting tonight about possibilities of having 2 Cheetah meetings a month. That would eliminate this, and one of those meetings perhaps be just dealing with financial items. One of the issues that has arisen is that historically, the, let's say, checks paid by Cheetah were done prior to approval by the Cheetah board. So the chairperson of the Cheetah board was given a piece of paper saying that he or she approved those, never seeing them, never voting on them. So one potential possibility is to have 2 meetings a month. One, to just prove financial transactions, get paychecks out, get all those bills paid, so that the chairperson, whoever that might be, could then say, yes, I've reviewed these with the commissioners, and I sign. And then the second one, where you deal with more substantive things, that takes some time for the commissioners to discuss. I would anticipate that one of the meetings would be maybe an hour to hour and 15 minutes long. One would be 30 minutes or less if dealing just with financial transactions.
and then if something came up in between, you can load it onto that one.
Exactly, because you'd also coincide with this council meeting to approve
Right.
the subsequent agenda.
The next council meeting is gonna be what, the 13th of June?
Yes, correct.
And Cheetah is on the 14th.
Correct.
Just the way that it happens to end up.
And that's why this was
So-
put on like this.
Yeah.
Believe me, Teresa and I spent a bit of time trying to time that, to do it properly. But I think the Cheetah board could consider some of those items, maybe 2 meetings a month. I know that might be difficult for some members, but if we limit that one meeting to just the financials, I think you could get that
I
done.
think it's easier to, just per se myself, I have to take time off to do it. If the meetings were a little shorter than having a hour and a half to a 2-hour meeting that I'm having to take out of my own time to do. If we have 2 meetings that are a little bit shorter, it would be a lot easier. I think, we kind of discussed when you were over here, I think that would be okay, that way, but.
Does that
Yeah.
answer or address your questions?
Well, yes, it does.
Sounds good.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, But I just wanted everyone to know the difficulty there has been of
Yes.
trying to get things on an agenda and then having the time to go through here. So, yeah, 2 of them would be, we talked about that a bit too, that 2 would make a lot of sense, rather than some months you don't have it for 2 months.
Right.
You know, they
Yeah,
only
we're-
have
we're-
10 meetings, I
There
think.
wasn't supposed to be any in June at all.
Right.
So, and then we had to have them, so Teresa and I and Corky decided we're just gonna have it, and
So that's what I'm saying. We're finding things as we go through here and trying to adjust, so.
Yes.
and then.
I appreciate
as-
that.
I think as the audit happens, we're gonna find more stuff that possibly that we're gonna wanna correct.
Yeah.
And that might be another special meeting for another time, because that
think
might
it's-
take a while.
That would be another time, yes.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty timely, and just how the last meeting went, no fault to anyone, but it would be nice to have a little bit more clear understanding and also the ability to review a lot of those items prior to the event. So,
For the cheetah.
for the cheetah meeting, yes.
Let's move.
Further discussion.
It's good.
Don't get them early
So-
enough.
So approve the
You don't get those
31st.
early enough.
All the things that we discussed.
Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
So just to clarify, Your Honor, this is to approve the Crookston Housing and Economic Development Authority amended agenda for May 31, 2022.
Correct.
Clat.
Aye.
Vedbrun.
Aye.
Melby.
All right,
Jurdy.
Aye.
Erickson.
All right,
Briggs.
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Kressel.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, reports. Corky, anything tonight?
I don't know if there's anything left. We had a meeting with FEMA today, and I'm sure some of the other department heads will talk about that. We met with FEMA, the national, and we met with the Minnesota Relief Fund for high water marks. And it was I think it was very fruitful. I want to tell you that our department heads did a really good job. They were complimented a number of times for the fire chief, for the public works, for the assistant fire chief, and for everything that we had done. And I just want you to know that. I think it went well. We have a lot of work yet to do to get specific numbers, but I think it went well, and the FEMA and state folks were very complimentary to our staff. We've hired an HR coordinator. He accepted the job today. He will be starting on June 13th. He's a young man with some ties from Crookston. He attended University of Minnesota Crookston. He's familiar with our weather, so that's a positive. He's familiar with our community, and he's excited to start with us. And I believe he works for Walmart now in that area, and he will be starting on the 13th of June. And lastly, as you saw in your packet tonight, we finalized negotiations with our police union. I believe that with the work of our chief and myself negotiating, we lost two of our negotiators. The city administrator left and our human resources coordinator left, so it was left to the chief and I. And I think that the police union is satisfied, and I think the morale has been good with that settlement, and I thank you all for your cooperation. That's all
Corky,
I have.
I have two questions for you. One, I know we're kind of a little behind on the initial police negotiation, so when do we really want that next one to be agreed upon, that next agreement?
Well, we'd hope we could get it done as soon as possible because we want to figure it into our budget
Right.
process. So I will be contacting their representative tomorrow
Okay.
and saying, he'll be surprised, but we're ready, come on. Usually they do that, and I hope we can start as soon as possible.
Is it always 1 year at a
No,
time?
no, this was an exception. The process started, there were significant hurdles, which we were able to address. It's usually a 2-year agreement, and that's what we'll be looking for next time, if we can get to that. And quite frankly, I think their language issues are all gone. That was taken care of initially. We're talking money, let's be frank, and that's what they're talking, so yes, I think it will be quicker, but more cumbersome.
And my second question is about FEMA. Is there any possibility that there will be community funds available for those affected by the flooding?
There is that possibility. I think that the chief can talk to that a bit, and Brandon, but yes, there is a possibility. That would be mitigation, and we did speak about the possibility of damage to homes, those kind of things. And the lady said Yeah, 2 years.
Okay.
She gave us that heads up, could be as much as 2 years.
Okay, thank you, Corky. Let's, start with Jake tonight. Oh, that sounds like I caught him off guard.
Thank you, Your Honor, Council. Just a little update. Our parks crew, been really busy with getting a lot of the diamonds ready up, behind Highland there and the Ray Eklund complex. It's been a kind of a struggle with the weather. Everything got really wet, so I have kudos to them. They've done a fantastic job. They've had pumps, they've had shovels, they've had everything and anything to get out there and get those dry, so we can have some spring sports this spring. So hopefully the weather turns now and no more rain for a little while at least. So they also have started mowing. We cannot get to certain areas right now because of the wetness, but you know, like your ditches on University. I know Schuster Park. I was there last week and there was a big, huge puddle towards the golf course. So a little bit tougher to get in some of those areas, but they're doing what they can right now. So they are done with the dugouts out at Diamond 5. All they have to do is just paint the new one that they put up on the third baseline. And Valley Electric did come out and they put that new light box in, that switch box that we got from Musco. And Musco will be coming in June. I've been on the phone with the guy a couple times. We started off in May, and then I called him back and I said, we can't do anything yet. It's so wet up here that you guys would tear up our complex. So I don't have an exact date yet, but we talked it'd be sometime in June. So they're gonna come and replace the lights and clean them and all that Carnfield there. So on the rec side, we currently have 506 participants across the board with all our recreation. So I do not know what the number was last year, but that's, to me, that's a great number of kids being active and adults in our community. So we did start some rec programs this last week. We started 10U and 12U baseball. We will be playing in a league again with East Grand Forks. Our first games will be May 31st, so next Tuesday. Softball, adult softball, it was supposed to start last week, but I held it back because of our field situation, so they will be starting tomorrow. We currently have 6 teams, so they'll be playing on Tuesday nights. And we will have one 14U and one 12U fast pitch team this year. And we joined a league with Thief River Falls, Red Lake Falls, Greenbush, War Road, Roseau. It's a little bit more competitive league, so I'm excited to start that and see where we're at and continue to grow with that. And then right now we are sitting pretty firm with our summer staff. We are looking for some more lifeguards, so if you know of anyone that wants to have a good summer job, we are looking for some more lifeguards. And the rest of the summer for rec will start June 6th. So that's all I have.
Do we have any more issues with the chemicals in the pool?
Haven't had any issues for a little while.
Okay.
Well, I guess it's been a week and a half now, so.
Okay.
It's not.
So we figure out what was going on, because we have 2 issues.
We called Hawkins, Kent, his name is, Osland, and we did put in a new, we are using one of their machines, you know, like that tells us what the OPR and the pH are. Eventually, we're gonna have to buy a new one. Things are starting to get just wear and tear there, and just little things that are happening that we just gotta fix. So we're gonna have to eventually get a new one.
A new machine to check the chem balance?
That tests your chemical balances and it feeds your chlorine and your acid to the pool. He replaced that and he put in, it's like a rental right now. So we're gonna have to buy a new one, so. And possibly some more probes, so it's just ongoing, but yeah, so that's all I have.
Just one more question about the pool. Are we gonna start tracking attendance and the utilization of that pool?
I can.
I think that might be a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jake. Greg, anything? Thank you. Brandon, any more to add?
Never done.
Good.
So Lyle Wilkins Inc. is picking up the temporary clay levees. He was on to the library at the end of the day, so I don't know if they finished or not, but most of the temporary clay levees have been picked up. We're still mulling around the fire hall portion on what we're gonna do with it. You know, in the meeting today, it was crystal clear that if we do not remove it, they will not reimburse us for setting it. So, unfortunately, it would probably be cheaper to remove it and then put it back. But I'll be digging into that.
Is that far as like using that clay for the levees or to fortify them?
Yeah, so if we want to leave the clay at the fire hall to get it up to, we'll just say 30 foot. If we leave it, the 40,000 we spent to set it, and we'll just say 30,000 to remove it, FEMA would not reimburse us for it. So,
Okay.
So Brandon, basically the streets where the clay was, now after the clay is moved, you're gonna send the sweepers down there to try to pick up some of the excess, or how?
yeah, I was looking at it. If it dries up enough, we'll probably take the skid steer with the broom on it. I know it's a little dusty, but picking it up with that street sweeper will take quite a while. So if we can push it to the center and pick the majority of it up with the skid steer, it'll save us some time. Yes,
Is that
but
what you did on South Main?
yeah, we scraped that up for the most part with the skid steer. I don't think we ever broomed that, did we? Did? Oh, you did? With the street sweeper though. Yep. Okay.
So Brandon, the clay down by the fire department, it's roughly 70,000 to put it down and.
It was 40 to put it down and 30 to haul it back out most likely, and that is the quotes that I got.
And then, so if we don't take it up, then we don't get reimbursed.
Correct.
Do we get reimbursed the whole amount then?
Yeah, so they'll pay to set it, but you have to remove it. So they'll pay the full 70 if it's removed. And that's where I was saying to, you know, if you most likely bid that and it wasn't in an emergency situation where people were working 30 hours straight to set it down, I'm just gonna throw a number out there, but I'll say 20, we can probably get the clay set there for 25,000, right? So, yeah, we're gonna spend 40 to set it and 30 to haul it away. But it makes more sense for us in the budget.
Who pays us?
The FEMA will reimburse us for it.
Where do they put the clay at, or where do they take it to?
That's our clay, out of the street shop lot there. We got a big stockpile right off of Crescent Avenue.
So after they've removed it and they paid us to remove it, can we put it back on there ourselves then, so we don't have to do it in a rush?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's above our city's cruise equipment, but yes, we could hire a contractor to do it.
Well, I'm saying if you figure 25 to put it back on there,
Yep,
you know, do it at not an emergency time and get it done, so we don't have this problem again.
yeah, and
So does somebody come in and inspect it after it's gone?
Well, it wouldn't be core approved once.
Well, is it core approved right now?
No.
No,
Well, then we don't have to worry about it.
the Corps has approved certain portions of our levies. These, if we
There's-
left it or if we re-put it on, it would not be Corps certified.
But it would
there's
take
a
care of our
lot
problem.
of documentation
Yeah.
with that, Deland. So you gotta take pictures of it set, and then you gotta take pictures of it once it's all put back. So it's not as easy as just covering up with black dirt and say we hauled it out. So I'm not going to jail for you guys.
Oh, come on.
Oh, where was that here? Oh, so, the public works crews have had a long month and a half. You know, Dave's, half the times through the FUD fight, me and Dave had to beg each other to go home and get 4 hours of sleep. So Dave, I appreciate all the work you've done in the last month and a half. Same with the other guys, they've just done what had to be done, and they've kept a good attitude through it, and it makes it a lot easier. You know, none of it was easy, but it's been pleasant going through it if we have to go through it. So thanks to all those guys. You know, the water guys helped out a lot too. I guess a segue to that is I understand our gravel roads are rough. I understand our sidewalks are in rough shape downtown right now. We just haven't had time to do it. So I'm just asking people to be patient. We're gonna try and grade the roads as soon as we can. It's you know, this whole process has us behind by a month and a half. So this is probably going to be a summer of getting the bare basics done, unfortunately, at this point. So, you know, I'm getting a lot of calls about gravel roads. I know our gravel roads just are rough right now. We've just had to prioritize. So we'll get there. Hopefully the end of this week, next week, we'll be able to do a good grade. And Corridors open house is tomorrow night from 5:30 to 7. So in council chambers here, SRF will be presenting the couple of options that the community review board has come up with, and we'll have I think there's like 3 levels of measure from favorable to unfavorable. So everybody will be able to stick their sticker in their box and cast their favor, I guess is the best way to put it.
Once that feedback goes through, then what's the next step in the process?
So depending on what comes out of how clear the path is after tomorrow's, we have 1 or 2 more community review panel meetings, and then the final open house is in July sometime. So
Okay.
2 to 3 more meetings. and then-
Everybody's welcome tomorrow.
Yep. Everybody's welcome. So there'll be posters to look at, and yeah, it's an open door tomorrow. So
It's 4 to 7?
5:30.
Yeah, 4 for you.
Okay, I'll be here.
So the lift station controls that are getting replaced, we'll do the first station in the first week in June here. So we're gonna feel that one out and see how it goes, and then we'll schedule the other 10 stations. So we've also been working on the Colburn property road. That will be on the east side of the Ag Innovation Campus. So the goal is to get that road put into the south edge of that property this year with all the utilities underneath it. There's some stormwater design that needs to be done yet, but all the other design has been completed. So once we get a good plan together for stormwater, so we don't end up having another draft situation, we'll move forward with that road. So our intentions are to get that road installed by this fall. So
Is that gravel? The whole thing is gonna stay gravel then, or is that gonna be concrete?
Rich left, I believe, it's a blacktop at minimum, the Colburn proper, so the road. I think it might be concrete, but I'm not 100% sure. And we did get a grant for that road and all the infrastructure and all the design.
On the design?
Yep.
I think
I
that
can
was the
just add to
question mark
that.
last time.
There was the original legislation in 2020 did not call for design reimbursement. That was amended as part of a different bill, not the bonding bill. But we have verified by language and with Representative Keel's office that the design is included, so we can get reimbursement for the design costs. And Ryan's not here, but he has a manual to look at to tell him all the steps to be able to do that.
So as soon as we get this storm plan together, we'll put that out for bids.
Can I ask one other question? In talking with FEMA, obviously, we now are very aware of our weak points in the city. Is there any plan or conversation, or is that part of the planning process with FEMA about trying to strengthen those areas now that we're fully aware that they are there?
So My dad has brought to my attention that he would like to present to you guys on the protection that we had in this event, and he feels like we've gotten some bad publicity on, and as far as what would have happened during this event had the levees not been upgraded after '97. At the end of the day, we had a day and a half to prepare for this event, and in '97 they had about a month and a half.
Right.
So we probably would have lost about 3/4 of the town, half of the town in this event had those structures not been in place. So there's always ways to shore things up, but I don't think we want to lose sight of what we did get out of the core levees. If the fire hall portion was protected to 31 feet like the rest of town, and you had to put, the temporary clay levees are by design by the Corps. So those really aren't gonna go anywhere, unless you spend a ton of our own funds to raise roads. That would be a permanent levee. So, we could get temporary clay levees in about 12 hours if we didn't have to mess with the fire hall. That was the longest portion. It took the most time. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Riverside is complete. It was protected to what the Corps figured. It's a cost risk analysis. That's not proper terminology, but there has to be enough reward at the end of the project to justify spending, we'll say, $1 million. They're not going to spend $1 million to save $200,000 worth of houses. So a few of the properties that flooded, or the one is out of the 100-year floodplain, and that's part of with the ice in '97, Riverside's levels never got to what they did in this flood. If you want to look at Riverside on its own, that was, a higher crest than '97. And that's why Tim Menard's house flooded this year and not in '97. So we didn't have to fight the ice this year. The record, we had record levels of flow. So the volume of water that went through town through this event has never happened before. So if we can nitpick till tomorrow, till the day's end, right? And we can, but I think if you really back up and look at how we were protected and what came out of this event, I think we were lucky, and I think the Corps levees serviced well, and my dad will be a better presenter on that than me. But
I just want you to know, to clarify, I am not at all criticizing.
No.
I just think about where the library was and with the fire hall.
Yep.
We know that those are obviously issues that we're having. Are we looking at ways, and is there funding, because it was so significant, through FEMA that can help us protect those areas in the future?
Yeah, and we'll look into it. And honestly, the library is a pretty small area. My goal for the library was to, in a year where we get caught up and we have some time, we take a week and we haul the clay in there, and that's a small levee that we can push up with our skid steer. The larger job is the fire hall. So I agree. I think if we shore up the library and the fire hall, we're looking good. And I'll go into any high water event feeling like we're smelling like a rose anyways, if we can get those two jobs done. So.
Thank you.
Anything else, Brandon?
Is my time up?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything from Chad tonight?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a few quick things. Just happy to report that the siren antenna repair that the IT department assisted the fire department with went well, and I'm told that both of the two sirens did function properly during testing. We replaced 3 computers, 3 workstations at the police department, 2 for the administrative assistants, and 1 for the sergeant's office, and they're working well. And finally, our web design committee met last week, and we are now going through in all departments reviewing content of the existing website, material that will and won't move across to the new site, which is slated to launch on schedule this upcoming July. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. See, Ryan's not here. Yep. Tim?
Thank you, Your Honor, Counsel. Don't have to report on high water this time, which is really good, but unfortunately, now the work really begins. We did, as Corky said, and Brandon, we did meet with Homeland Security and Emergency Management today and FEMA, and we had pretty much had our ducks in a row for them, which they were very impressed, and thanks to the staff for getting all that stuff together. To answer a question for Councilwoman Jurdy, on the personal homes, what they would like us to do is to get the list of the names of the people who have been affected, and we need to get those names and addresses to the county emergency manager. Right now, there is no funding available right now. It's all gonna make a difference on our declarations. We did meet the thresholds for a state declaration right now, so there will be some state funding coming our way when we get through this process. The federal declaration thresholds we have not met yet, but that has to go statewide. We should be making that because of all the issues that they've been having in upper northwest Minnesota. So talking with the emergency managers and our HSCM reps, that should not be an issue to meet those thresholds either. And then when they look at that, they'll also take a look at putting some money aside for personal properties. On that levy, when Brandon was talking about the levies around like the fire station and the library, and I did talk to one of the guys about that. He said all this money here that we're talking about for declarations has to do with mitigating the problem as it's here right now. They don't really want to talk about anything about the mitigation right now. They want to, first of all, get through what this is costing the state and each community to protect themselves. Then they'll take a look at those funds and see if using part of those funds can go towards the mitigation process too. So that is not out of the water yet. Brandon's 100% right. They won't pay us to leave the clay there, but we might be able to get some funding to take care of and do some mitigation stuff. So we're hoping that'll cut along. I do want to thank Chad for helping us with those sirens. That was very nice. That worked out really well. And I guess that's really all I have, unless you have some questions for me on.
So who do they contact if for personal relief? To just contact the fire department there, or?
They can call me. They can let me know, get the names and stuff, and I will just compile them. Otherwise, it'd be Jody Beauchene at the county, and he's gonna supposedly put a list together, and then that'll be through him more so than through the city. If that money ever becomes available, I'm not saying it is going to by any means. I'm just saying that that's what their plan is right now, to start getting a list of names, depending on how the declarations go with the state and with FEMA, to see if there's extra funds out there. So I'm not no way am I saying there's gonna be funds out there, but that's how they want us to handle it.
They need a list of what their damages was, you know?
Just
as far as
names.
Cost or just names?
Just names. They just want to know how many. They asked us how many we had, and we couldn't give them a definite number. I mean, we have an idea, but we didn't want to make up a number. So they want actual names, and then they'll go from there.
I know, Tim, that through the Minnesota Foundation, that disaster relief fund, that my understanding is that like over $1 million worth of requests have been made already of that, and I imagine that's a pretty significant list. So I can reach out to them and give them that information, because I'm assuming they would want to contact those individuals. So they're all on that list as well.
Yep, that'd be outstanding. Now, those were all in our community, or was that
Yeah,
in our
those were the ones
county?
that had applied for the disaster relief that was provided or could be provided.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
That'd be awesome. Anything else?
Regarding, federal dollars for disaster, that's gotta have a declaration from the governor, correct?
That's correct. And actually, that might have to go to the president for that, for a federal declaration. The governor has to make that
Right.
declaration to FEMA, correct, to Region 5, yep.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Darren?
Thank you. Again, I'd just like to congratulate Sergeant Heath Hansen on joining the police department. I'd like to thank his family, friends, and officers that did or were able to attend tonight. Myself and several officers did attend and participated in the Northern Valley Police Memorial in Grand Forks last Tuesday, the 17th. It was from like 2 to 3:30. It was well received and well attended, so it was nice to be part of that. If you guys remember, like I think back end of January or February earlier this year, council adopted a policy along the operation of UTVs or utility vehicles throughout the city of Crookston. I just want to report we've sold several licenses this year. So as the weather warms up, I think we'll probably start seeing more of those if we haven't already. Start seeing more of those throughout the city of Crookston. As we're selling the license, we're also I've given them a policy that details when you can and can't operate the UTVs and what streets you can and can't operate them on. So far, nothing to report with that. It's been going really well. Kind of fun to see those come out. And again, with the warm weather, we've just been really busy. Several hundred calls the last few weeks. So yeah, that's all I have to report tonight, unless there's any questions. All right, thank you.
Let's start with Don tonight, anything?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you. Joe?
No report, Your Honor.
Blaine?
I'll report, Your Honor.
Tom?
Just that I'll say, the fire alarms do work, they're very loud. I can hear them.
Okay,
Just welcome to Heath. It'll be a good addition.
thank you. Wayne?
Just I see that the mowing got started and it seems to be going pretty well. Hope the mosquito spraying starts before we have a problem, and have a great Memorial weekend.
There it is. Christie?
I want to give another special thanks to Brandon and his crew, because I know it has been extremely hard, and having seen you, Brandon, specifically at the EOC day and night, I really appreciate the effort and the time that you and your crew has gone into, so thank you again for that. I will say, as I was mentioning earlier about the emergency fund that is available for Crookston area disaster relief, there's been an overwhelming request for funding and not a lot of donations. So just encouraging those who have the opportunity to and the means to donate to that fund to do so they can help out the community.
Thank you. Steve?
Same thing, congratulations to Heath, great addition to our PD. I think, like to see you get a couple more of them pre-trained people, that's great, so welcome aboard, Heath.
Thank you. Clayton?
Welcome Sergeant Heath Hansen. I'd like to congratulate our Crookston graduates of 2022, and I'd like to thank the spring cleanup crew for doing their hard work. It's not an easy thing, we have everything wet like it was, so thank you, Brandon, and your crew. Appreciate it.
I think Brendan left, didn't he?
No,
Oh,
he's
there
here.
he is, back
Just
in the
hiding.
corner now. Okay. Just a couple things. I know Brandon touched on the corridor, the open house tomorrow night. Also, I'd like to welcome Heath Hansen. It's kind of nice that we're grabbing someone from the county instead of the other way around. Also, I see Mr. Lassard's here. I know Brandon couldn't do it without you, so thank your crew and everything you guys have done. I know it's been long, stressful, kind of a pain in the butt, but thank you for all that you guys do. Other than that, that's all I've got. Oh yeah, happy Memorial Day to everybody. Have a safe one. Hopefully the weather is dry, so everybody can have some fun. Nothing else, no ways and means tonight, so nothing else to come before council. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.